Hey, this is Bhargav from Rakuten SixthSense pre-sales team. Welcome to today's webinar session on Kubernetes monitoring. So just to give you a bit of introduction to Kubernetes, it's an open source Docker orchestration platform. That's kind of revolutionized the way that we manage containerized applications. It helps you in terms of deploying, managing your containerized applications in a very effective manner. But on the flip side, you can also be getting introduced to new host of problems if you're not being very careful in terms of looking at how your Kubernetes environment is set up, how it's functioning over time, if you don't have a closer eye towards all of these things in terms of managing, looking at the things that are happening, right? So what helps you over here is monitoring your Kubernetes environment. That's where monitoring tools like ourselves, Rakuten SixthSense, come into the picture. What we do over here is look at few key matrices and give you analysis in terms of what's happening throughout your environment. This is not just the infrastructure or the orchestration level that we are looking at in terms of, say, your CPU utilization, RAM utilization, or when it comes to the orchestration, a number of pods that are getting restarted, getting deployed, or the status of your pod, etc. But also looking at the APM end of things, that is application performance monitoring, how your application is performing within the Kubernetes environment, right? So all of this combined gives you a very close eye into what's happening. By monitoring and having these metrics in place and getting all of these analysis, your applications are going to run smoothly, and that will obviously give you efficiency in terms of utilizing your time and money and the people that are spending much of their efforts on managing Kubernetes and the application ecosystem, right? The benefits of monitoring goes beyond just looking at, say, preventing a certain disaster. By keeping a very close eye on the clusters, nodes as well, pretty much all the layers of Kubernetes, what you can do is enhance your customer experience, reduce the operational costs. That's the main thing. And if you want a small example, say if you detect a pod, right, that's running, but it is running at its maximum capacity, utilizing most of its resources, and it is crashing at times. Now, making small tweaks to it, once you get this information through the monitoring tool and reconfiguring it, will maximize both the cluster performance as well as your resource efficiency, right, on how you utilize it. And again, you fixed a particular issue and this doesn't occur again. Or say if it does occur again, you do have a monitoring tool in place that could give you the information related to that and alert you so that you can take an action again. So moving ahead, in this video, what we'll be doing is we'll be looking at monitoring Kubernetes in a more effective manner through Rakuten SixthSense. We'll also be discussing about a few of the challenges that you may face in terms of monitoring. So this is through the whole monitoring space, how these challenges can affect any kind of a tool and why you should have a proper tool like, say, Rakuten SixthSense, so that you don't fall into this trap of having multiple tools, looking at multiple panes of glasses and trying to understand what's going wrong, when it's going wrong, and how it's going wrong, right? So into the challenges, what kind of challenges would you face while monitoring, say, a Kubernetes environment, right? So some things are pretty much out there. It is plain, basic, simple things that you might forget. And one of those pointers is lack of visibility and lack of insights while you're monitoring Kubernetes environment. The reason why I say that is as there are a lot of components, right, within Kubernetes. You have the clusters, the nodes, the pods, and the containers. And the way that they interact with each other is very complex. Hence, gaining visibility into these and also making sense of what's happening, right? So getting insight into how things are performing from, say, the pod to the node and to the cluster, how they are getting impacted is something that's very important for you to have while monitoring, right? So not just with Kubernetes, this goes to any platform that you're monitoring. And the second one is in terms of identifying, diagnosing problems. And again, this is also one of the main key factor things that you need to look at while monitoring. So again, with the same set of issues that we saw on the first pointer, lot of levels in Kubernetes, and again, pointing out where the issue is becomes very difficult. Now, the third point is inability to scale monitoring capabilities. This particular point is specific to Kubernetes. The reason why I say that is, as you know, Kubernetes is orchestrating, upscaling, downscaling your pods, right? And it's giving out, say, inputs in terms of how much it is upsized, how much it is downsized, and your monitoring tool needs to be capable enough of getting this information within no time and displaying that onto the dashboard. If it doesn't do that, there's a clear deficit in terms of what's going on within the Kubernetes and what is being captured by the monitoring tool. And again, it can lead to some confusions. That's something that you'd also need to have a look at. Now, all these problems will be addressed through Rakuten SixthSense. I'll also be showcasing the demo. But let's first get into the part where I showcase you how you can go about and set up Rakuten SixthSense observability for your Kubernetes environment. So setting up Kubernetes monitoring on Rakuten SixthSense is very simple and very easy. Pretty much most of the components that you would be looking at today in this slide are already available on Kubernetes. So we are using two tools from Kubernetes. One is KubeStateMetrics and the other is CAdvisor. So these are the two tools that you can enable on Kubernetes. And the third component over here is the agent part. So that's available for both your pod level and the cluster level. So installation of that also would be required. So now I wouldn't get into say in-depth information of what is KubeStateMetrics. So KubeStateMetrics gives you API server and generate metrics on the state of the objects, like what's the state of your pod, your nodes, your cluster, etc. All of that information. Whereas CAdvisor, this is where you'd get information such as resource usage, performance, right? And again, we would recommend you to run CAdvisor as a daemon set, as it collects metadata, aggregates it, processes, and exports this information of the container to our agent, and further from the agent to the Rakuten SixthSense server, right? So, and in terms of the agent deployment, again, it's very simple. It's a Dockerized image that you need to download. There are preset configurations that are available. You can also go over and change the configurations in terms of which cluster would you want the agent to get the information and monitor. So all of those configurations also can be done. I'll also be putting up the link right now if you'd want to get in detailed information about how you can go over and do these configurations and installation of the agent, right? So that's for setting up Rakuten SixthSense observability on your Kubernetes platform. So once you have your Kubernetes agent set up and everything is functioning, the data is being sent to Rakuten SixthSense server. In the next bit, I'll also be showcasing you the demo of the observability platform so that you can see how the metrics is displayed and how the dashboards would give you the insight into what's happening in your Kubernetes monitoring space. That, or put it as a Kubernetes environment. Let's head into a very quick demonstration of Kubernetes monitoring with Rakuten SixthSense observability. So I've logged into one of our demo instances. As you can see, we have live data coming in. Once we have deployed the agents and set up a few of the tools that we spoke about on Kubernetes environment, once that's configured and set up, you do get live data available to you on the dashboards. So what we have done in terms of monitoring on Kubernetes is give you a top-down approach where you have all the layers of your Kubernetes available for you. So you have your cluster level page, your node level, your service level that you can access. Pretty much all of these levels of data gives you information related to statuses of what's happening on that particular level. So cluster level, you get an overall view of all your nodes, the deployment services, pods, etc., and also information related to the infra, that is your resources that are available for that particular cluster. Apart from that, you also will be able to select what cluster services that you would want to look at. So if you have multiple clusters, you'd want to view information related to them, you do get a drop down over here where you'll be able to select. Apart from that, you do also have an information in terms of input in terms of looking at periodic information. So say if you'd want to head back 6 hours, 7 hours and look at the data, you can also do that. So you have a customizable time frame as well, so that you do not lose out on any information, say anytime when there is an issue. If you'd want to head back and look at things, you can do that. So looking at the data, what we capture, so status related, as I spoke about earlier, through KubeState, you will be able to get the information in terms of the statuses. So you have your node statuses, deployment, and number of replicas of that application that are being deployed. Then you have service statuses, pod statuses across the cluster, that is, and you also have your pod statuses in terms of termination. So that gives you insight into if your pods are getting terminated, and you need to get into analysis in terms of, is it because of the application errors or is it because of resources. And as I told you, we also kind of display information related to your infra as well. So on the cluster, the resources that are available, so you have CPU, memory, storage. So heading into node is specifically in terms of resource. So we give you resource information over here. Again, the same CPU usage, memory usage, and network inbound and outbound, specifically on use cases, and the resources that are available for you in terms of, say, CPU, memory, and storage. Right. So pretty much everything on the node level is your infra information or the resource information per se. And you also do get an option where you can filter out the information and look at only the information that you would want to. Right. And as I told you, over here you do get an option to select the cluster level and again the node level instances. So you can go over and select any of these instances and specifically look at information for that particular instance. Right. So heading into the service layer, so here you get a service layer. This is specifically to the pods and applications that you're deployed. So looking at the application pods, and you can select any of these pods and look at the data related to them. So instantaneous refreshes, you do get that option as well, and you have information related to the pod over there. So the pod that is running, the number of replicas of that particular pod, if there was any termination or any pods that were terminated, status of that, why was it terminated, the timeline related to that, pod restarts, and again resource information. So your service CPU resources that are available, RAM resources, then you have pod usage summary. So all of that information along with your network info. So that's for monitoring on Kubernetes with Rakuten SixthSense. So information relayed very efficiently and without any clutter. Now, apart from this, we are also trying to bring in correlation between APM, that is application performance monitoring, and Kubernetes. We'd also be including integration with Prometheus. That's something in our roadmap down the lane. So if you're interested in terms of Kubernetes monitoring or any other monitoring aspects that we do offer, ranging from APM, browser, synthetic database, VM, mobile, cloud, and log monitoring, please do reach out to us, and looking forward to hear from you guys. So that's it from my end. This is Bhargav signing off. Thanks for your time. Have a great day, guys. Cheers.